Good evening, folks. You got J. Crew to you coming at you with another video here on March the 12th, 2023. Here on this lovely Sunday night. Um, just want to come at y'all with another video. I think I did a couple of videos yesterday for the first time in a long time. So I thought, let me hit them up with another video. Um, Earlier today, I went to go check out Creed 3, the new boxing film. That's a sequel of a sequel uh for a movie of that features Michael B. Jordan as not only the lead actor of Adonis Creed, but he's making his directorial debut with this film. And also there's another up and coming actor that people are really starting to become fond of, and Jonathan Majors, who plays his former friend turned enemy in a character called Damian Anderson. Uh, I really enjoyed this film. It has its positives and it had its negatives, but I'm definitely gonna hit on the positive first. And let me go ahead and say, it's gonna be a spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it. I think the movie's already been out a few weeks, so if you haven't, seen it yet, you still got a while to go see it. Probably before they take it out of theaters, maybe 2 or 3 more weeks, maybe. But so if you haven't seen it, you don't want to, listen to spoilers. Do not watch this video yet. But I'm gonna just give you my thoughts on this video, and I'm gonna start off by giving off a synopsis of, of this particular video. And there's also a couple of things that have been going on behind the scenes with the film that some of you may have heard about, particularly with one of the main people who's been involved in not only the Rocky films but the first two Creed films, Sylvester Stallone. Uh, Sylvester Stallone, even though he was listed as a producer, as you'll see in the end credits, his character of Rocky Balboa does not appear in this film. He had an issue with one of the, I guess, producers. I forget the guy's name off the top of my head, but it was a producer that he had an issue with, and he's kind of falling out with him. And I think this producer may have taken some of the rights away, from Sylvester Stallone in terms of his stake in some of these movies, not only the Rocky films, but some of these Creed movies. And so that was the reason he didn't appear in this film. Most people, I know, a question online, not me directly, but just in terms of online dialogue. Does that really affect the movie a lot? In terms of Sylvester Stallone not being there. To me, the answer is no. It still is a very enjoyable film, and they probably did the best they could without. This is the best version to me, or at least close to the best version. Let me say that, to me, of what they could have put out. It's close to the best version of what they could have put out without Sylvester Stallone. There were definitely some scenes I saw in here where they could have used Sly Stallone in these scenes, but they did not. I didn't really have too much of a problem with it. It wasn't like it took a ton away from the film. And so, with that being said, let me get into the plot. As we know, in this film, Adonis is married, to his wife. I think, and I should know her name, maybe Bianca or something like that. She's played by Tessa Thompson, and they also have a daughter, as you all might know, who is deaf. And so, that adds kind of like a touch to this film because they're living this happy life, and you know, they're really enjoying themselves, and even though their daughter is deaf, they really are just kind of doing the best they can with it. It's really not negatively affecting their family life. It's almost like they've kind of have adjusted to life with a daughter who's deaf, and it's like that. It's almost like it doesn't even affect their daily behavior. Of course, they all do sign language, and that's cool to see. Let me say that because I don't know if I've seen too many films where you see black people like doing sign language and stuff like that, and I'm just not used to seeing it. I mean, that's not something I'm used to having to deal with like in a mostly black film, where the black people are doing sign language. So that was kind of cool. There's not really a subplot with that, but it just adds a touching aspect to this film because we see people's children, in particular girls, and then she has a disability like that. It kind of makes you look at the film, with a what I call a very, very sympathetic eye. you know, you kind of sympathize for. It's like she has a lot of material things in the fact that her parents are rich. Keep in mind, Tessa Thompson's character, she's like this singer slash producer. So I think she's been successful. They even mentioned in this film that she's had some gold records. But either way, what happens is that Adonis, is retiring as a fighter, and he's stepping to maybe like what you call like a Floyd Mayweather Senior or either Don King type role. He's going into the promoting of fights, and he has this one Latino fighter that he's promoting, and this guy, he's not that big or in frame, but I guess he's very skilled, and he's a Latino guy he's in the process of promoting. They show him training with him. He's training him via using other trainers in the gym, and they're basically preparing Felix to go into another fight. Out of nowhere, his friend, I'm skipping ahead a little bit. In the process of this training going on, we see that Adonis has a past that hasn't been uncovered yet. He was basically a young kid who grew up like in a group home in Los Angeles, and he had a friend with him by the name of Dame Anderson, and of course Dame Anderson, as I said before, is played by Jonathan Majors. And what happened is that, and they don't really show the entire issue that happened. At first, you see Dame sort of winning a Golden Glove fight, and he's an up and coming boxer in Los Angeles. And after he wins his fight, him and Adonis, they drive to this little store, and Dame kind of sits in the car while Adonis gets out to go get something in the store. And when he gets out to go get something in the store, Adonis passed by this guy named Leon, and we don't really know who he is yet. But when he passes by him, out of nowhere, Adonis kind of just jumps on him. He just kind of starts fighting him, starts hitting him and knocking him down and stomping him. And before you know, the police come up. And then it kind of flashes into modern day where we see the Latino guy training for a fight, and getting ready to go out there and box, and like I said, Adonis is promoting him since he's retiring as a boxer. Well, during the process of all this training and promoting going on, Adonis's old friend, this is like 20 years later when he shows up. Keep in mind, when that issue happened, where Adonis jumped on that guy named Leon, that was like 2002, like in the early 2000s. And so in present day, Dame has just been released from prison. And he gets out and he pretty much goes straight to Adonis's gym. Adonis has his own training complex. He has his office upstairs. And then he has like a gym like downstairs. And one of the trainers is that guy played by Wood Harris. And Wood Harris is a trainer down there. And when Dame shows up, he just kind of stands outside by Adonis's car. And his car is a Bentley not Bentayga, it's the newer one. The Bentley, it's the newest SUV. Can't remember the name of it. The Cullinan. I'm sorry, the Bentley Cullinan. Or the Rolls Royce Cullinan. I think it's the Rolls Royce Cullinan. My fault. I think it's one of them. Whichever one's the Cullinan. I think that's what Adonis is driving. That thing look good too. And that's why I mentioned it. And Adonis happens to walk outside. And when he walks outside, he kind of looks at him and he said, "Who is that dude?" And then when he kind of looks at him, he kind of comes to, "Oh, that's a Dame. That's my homie Dame." And him and Dame get to talking. And Dame gets invited by Adonis to go out to eat where they catch up. And when they're sitting down and eating, they're just kind of reminiscing over the past. Adonis asks him how's he doing, how long has he been out, and while they're eating, I thought this was kind of strange. Adonis kind of offered Dame some money, but Dame said no, and he really just got out of prison. That dude been locked away for like a couple of decades. And And he's like, no. And I just thought that was weird. I was like, man, you know, if I was Dame, I would have swallowed my pride. And I just would say, hey, all right, man, I'll take that money. But he said he kind of goes into what he does want. He wants a shot at the title fight. And Adonis was like, man, I mean, that sounds cool and everything, but I just can't start, you know, putting you up there like that, bro. I can't just, you know, offer you a shot at the title fight. You haven't worked your way up there. We got to promote you. Ain't nobody gonna know you. We ain't gonna make no money. And so, you know, Dame just said, well, you know, let's go out in the gym and, you know, let me show you one of your trainers what I got. And so, you know, he go down there. He you know, he kind of starts boxing, and you know, they call him old man down there. And as the film starts going along a little bit, Dame, you know, he begins to sort of like, you know, shape himself up, and he begins to, you know, show some boxing skill. But you also see that he's kind of going far even when he's training. He's kind of using street tactics to, you know, in terms of really just kind of pulverizing some of the fighters. And when he's doing this, you know, the head trainer Wood Harris noticed this. He's like, man, we don't need to, we don't need to train this guy. Number one, he's old. Then I can see he's not really disciplined like that. He fights kind of angry, but Adon like, no, it's my homeboy. You know, I'm gonna give him a chance. And you know, and of course, as I said earlier, Adonis wants to bring him along just like you would anybody, but Dame isn't really feeling that. So it gets to a point where they're kind of at this event, somewhere in LA. They're at this event where like Adonis's family is there, Dame is there. We get to see the fighter, Ivan Drago that he beat, uh, you know, before in the previous films. He's there, and this time like him and Adonis are cool, kind of how Rocky and you know, Apollo Creed got cool. They're cool at this point. You know that you know, sometimes Adonis uses Drago to help train some of his fighters, and like I said, Dame is there and they're enjoying the event. And there's this guy that I think uh that we see that, and he kind of comes up in prominence later, not really as a speaking role, but in terms of a plot point. There's a guy that he's there, and what he does, he attacks Drago, like he attacks him, and so when he attacks Drago, he injures him. And so Drago, and the reason I mention that is Drago's supposed to be like in a fight with I guess that Latino guy that Creed is training. If, you know, I'm trying to remember it. You know, I just saw it that I mean, you would think I would sort of have a better memory of that, but you know, he injures Drago. And what happens is that, like I said, Creed's promoting the fight where he's promoting Drago and this Latino guy. But when this random dude who we think is just kind of attacking him, attacks him, he injures him. And so that sabotages this up and coming fight. What happens is that, you know, Creed and some of his boxing staff get together. And they're like, man, what are we gonna do? We got to put on a fight. We got to make some money. Of course, they eventually get to the point where they say, well, you know, your friend Dame, he want to fight. Let's give him a shot. So they get to the point where they say, you know what, forget it. We'll allow his friend Dame to step in the ring. And what happens is that, you know, even though Dame is he's older, you know, not as quick, they go in there and they fight. And during this fight, Dame kind of he boxes, but he kind of has some, I guess you could say, some illegal blows. I know he was hitting him like below the waist. I think he hit him in his shoulder. You know, he's more or less like a raw fighter who comes out more or less like a street fighter than like a trained boxer. And what happens is that Dame injures him, and he beats him. And it's like this nobody dude from LA who just got out of prison beats the heavyweight champion of the world, you know, and this Latino guy. And, you know, and it kind of shocks everybody. And people were just stunned. They were like, and at the end of the fight, Adonis is kind of like at this weird crossroad because he's looking at Dame kind of like incredulously, like, why did you do that? And Dame is kind of looking back at him like, yeah, my home. All right, what's up, Adonis? Hey man, I won. And Adonis doesn't really react properly. He doesn't really kind of acknowledge the fact that he won. Either way, in the next few scenes, we see what happened is that Adonis uh has already kind of discovered, I think at this point, my memory served me correctly, that uh Dame had been sending him letters from prison, but he never got them. Because I think when they were eating dinner early in the film, uh, Adonis even asked Dame, "Hey man, where you send them letters to?" He said, "I sent them to this address." He was like, "Oh yeah, that's my mama's house." And he said, "Man, she ain't never said nothing about that." And so when that fight wraps up, Adonis goes sees his mother, and what happens is that he reads through some of them letters, and Adonis is kind of mad. He's like, why in the world have you not shown me this stuff? And his mother, who's played by Felicia Rashad, basically says, baby, I didn't want you to be distracted. I want you to move into the future. I didn't want you to get caught up in the past. And there's just found a photo that his mother shows him, and it serves as like one of the key plot points. And it shows that his friend Dame had some menacing ulterior motives. What happens is that this photo that Felicia Rashad gives him, keep in mind, Felicia Rashad plays like, I think, like his guardian, his mother. That he was like a foster kid, and she kind of took him in or whatever. So she plays like his mother, and she shows him this photo. In this photo, you see Dame in prison, but he was crouched down, kind of, showing a salute with that same dude that attacked uh, Drago just a couple of scenes earlier before their big fight. It was supposed to take place, and so at that point, everybody in the theater was like, and you can see what happened. Like Dame set that up. Dame set it up to where that other fighter Drago got injured and he couldn't fight, and instead it became Dame's turn to fight. And so Adonis, upon finding this out, he goes to a beach area in somewhere in California, and Dame is hanging out, and he confronts him about it. And Dame basically is very unapologetic. He's mad. He's like, "Well, I deserve this. You should be proud of me, bro." And they kind of get into it, and Dame actually ends up hitting him and gives him like a little black eye. And so at that point, they kind of go their separate ways up until the end of the film. And so, that was like the big plot twist, was that Dame had set it up to where he would get a title shot by hurting a fighter that was supposed to get a title shot with the Latino guy. And so with both the Latino guy who got injured, he's kind of not like a factor for the rest of the film. And of course, Drago is hurt. Adonis, over the remaining portion of the film, he kind of has different issues that comes up with his family. I know his daughter gets to a fight at school, she knocks somebody out, and it's kind of like he's dealing with that. He's dealing with the family issue, and also within all this going on, his bad luck started with Dame turning on, but then it just seemed like this was kind of out of nowhere from what I remember. Felicia Rashad has like a stroke and she dies in the film. But that was kind of like out of nowhere when it happened. It was emotional, but it didn't seem. It really didn't play out how I wanted to, and I'll get to that later on in this video review. But either way, what happens is that Adonis feels like, man, this guy's turned on me. He's made me look bad. I gotta fight him. I gotta come out of retirement. He starts training with Wood Harris, and eventually, they get to the point where they're fighting at the end of the film, and they fight, and of course, it's a back and forth fight. It was well filmed too. Like I like the way they filmed those fight scenes. And again, I'll get there in a minute about some of my likes and dislikes. But I like the way they filmed the fight scenes in this movie. Either way, as we know, as you probably predict, Adonis wins, and him and Dane kind of make peace after the fight, and they just kind of go their separate way. But Adonis wins. Uh, and so I would say, in conclusion, in terms of my synopsis of the film, Sylvester Stallone's absence did not make that big of a deal to me. It didn't really affect the quality of this movie. I didn't think it really make it take a step back. But and again, for a directorial debut, Michael B. Jordan did an excellent job. I thought it looked very well shot. It had its proper. It was balanced with good humor, emotions or whatnot. Let me get to some of my positives of the film. I thought just the story in general was a good. It was a good direction for the series. It took it like to a place where you didn't really expect it to go. They found something fresh to do. Two films, 2 or 3 films deep. And you don't really see that with sequels. That's why I tell people I don't really get into sequels like that. Because a lot of times it be some of the same old stuff. But from a story standpoint, it took it to a different direction. Also, I mentioned just a few minutes ago about how well the boxing scenes were shot. There was a lot of press over how those scenes were shot. They were inspired by a lot of anime. Like you could tell with certain shots, with the slow motion and how people got hit, that Michael B. Jordan's a fan of anime. And he put stuff that, from Naruto and Dragon Ball Z that you would see in there. And it kind of, looks good with the way they did that. I also like to say Jonathan Majors. To me, he wasn't as menacing as I would have liked, but yet I thought it was well played. You could tell something was wrong with him. Sometimes when he spoke, he almost kind of like grunted or he kind of just mumbled. But I think it was him acting just with a lot of facial expressions and emotions. He looked like somebody who's kind of disturbed, who's down, who's angry. He kind of plays that role very, very well. And I like how he did that. And he's big, but he's not too big. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't like 6'5". I think Jonathan Majors about 6 foot or 6'1", and Michael B. Jordan like 5'11". And you can see that Jonathan Majors is bigger, but he's not so big where he looks like a cartoonish sort of difference. They look very evenly matched for the most part. Tessa Thompson, her character of his wife, Bianca, I think her name was Bianca. I like the way she came off in this film. She seemed very loving. She was very supportive. She just played her role. She played her role in this film. And the daughter, their little daughter, I really love, her sort of growing up and her sort of learning to function with her condition with her parents. That was just interesting, like I said earlier in the film, to see a black family do that, to function with somebody being deaf. Keep in mind, Tessa Thompson, I think her character is partially deaf, and then the daughter was born fully deaf. And so it just creates a nice little sort of like slant to the film with how they have to live their everyday life. And Bianca, I mentioned that she got to a fight earlier in the film. I mean, excuse me, not Bianca, but the daughter. She got to a fight with one of her classmates earlier in the film. And, she's dealing with, basically, she dealt with a bully by hitting her. And the parents kind of disagree how she reacted. Michael B. Jordan, he was like, well, she defended herself. Sometimes you got to fight. And the mother did not want her to fight. Like, she didn't want her to function in anger. And them trying to balance all that out with Michael B. Jordan being known for knocking people out, being a boxer. I just thought that was really nice. It was kind of a nice slant to the movie from a story standpoint. I thought that was cool. Let me get to some of just a few negatives. There weren't very many negatives because, like I said, I really enjoyed this film. There was 2 main negatives I noticed. How Phylicia Rashad died. When that stroke happened, it was just kind of out of nowhere. It just kind of came out of nowhere. Where, you know, Adonis just kind of has to react to it out of nowhere. And I think his wife, Bianca, calls him. And I think it might have been after that scene when they were at the beach and he got punched or whatever. It was either right after that scene or not too long after that. And you know, she said, I was trying to call you, but wherever you at last night, I couldn't get you. And he comes to, I guess, her bedside and she cries. And what was going on was, I think she confuses Adonis with Apollo as she's spending her final moments with him. And that was kind of emotional, but it just could have been done better because the way it happened, it's just like out of nowhere. It wasn't no build up to it. And I didn't agree with how they kind of, that was something they kind of threw in the film at some point. I don't know if they shot it at the last second or something, but I just didn't like the way it sort of played out. I just thought it could have been done better. During the Adonis's, the second one is during the final fight of the film between Adonis and Dane. In the middle of this fight that they having for the heavyweight championship of the world, that Adonis has come out retirement for, they have a dream sequence. It was just kind of weird. It's like Adonis kind of dreams. It's just him and Dame like in the cage. It's almost like they in prison or something. And they just fighting each other for like a few minutes. And I just feel like they should have been done like in another point of the film. Maybe when maybe they could have had a training sequence and sort of show something like that, but not like in the final fight of the film. It just seemed to be very out of place. It kind of took me out of the movie for a second. I just thought that just wasn't well placed. I liked the idea of what they did, but it wasn't carried out very good. And that kind of threw me off a little bit. But I'm gonna say in finality, I'm gonna give it a B plus. I thought that it was a good continuation of this film series, and again, for somebody who's directing a film for the first time, I thought Michael B. Jordan did an outstanding job. Let me say, Ryan Coogler was a producer on this film along with Sylvester Stallone. He was a producer. His old friend Ryan Coogler was stepped in and had something to do with this. You know, just let me know what y'all thought about it. You know, she got J. Crew to you signing off for this Sunday night at March 12th, 2023. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you want to subscribe, click the subscribe button. Y'all have a good one.